Today we are making tater tots, and I'm really excited about this one. We're just gonna try to take the tater tots and bring them to that next level using a few simple ingredients, such as the oil that it's fried in. Potatoes love duck fat. Today we're gonna use duck fat to fry them in. Notice the new kitchen that I'm in. I recently moved, so I'm still getting used to everything. We'll see how the lighting works out, but it should be fine. I know this is the first video I've made in a long time. I'm not gonna get into all the details why. If you're curious, just shoot me an email. We're also gonna make a nice sauce to go with this. So without further ado, let's get started. For the potatoes, I'm just gonna use regular russet potatoes. Use what you want, but I like these. I find they work the best. First, we're gonna peel them. Then we're gonna put them in a pot with some cold water. Just bring them up to a boil, maybe let it go 5-7 minutes, something like that. Just long enough so that it's knife tender, but it'll stick in the middle. You don't wanna cook them all the way through for that. And we'll shred them, so let's go. So get your potatoes peeled. Save the peelings if you wanna fry up some of the best chips you've ever had, but I'll have to show you that in another video. After submerging the potatoes in a pot with cold water, add it to the burner and bring the water to a low boil. Let them boil for around 5 minutes. You can skip this step if you want, but I find that it makes for a much nicer texture in the end than had you just shredded them completely raw. After 5 to 7 minutes, depending on the size of the potatoes, drain the hot water and rinse a few times with cold water. We are cooling them down just enough to handle. You want them to still be warm when you shred them, so don't use ice or refrigerate them. When they are cool enough to handle, shred them up using a box grater. I like to do this on paper towels because they can make a mess, and also it helps absorb the excess moisture. When they are all shredded up, you can use the same paper towels to pat them dry. If you squeeze them into a ball and no water drips out, then they are dry enough. Transfer them to a mixing bowl, to which we will add our spices right after I show you the dipping sauce that we made ahead of time. Prior to making the tots, I made a roasted garlic and truffle aioli, starting with whole bulbs of garlic. Cut the ends off of the bulbs, thus revealing the inner cloves. This is a lot more garlic than needed, but I like to have extra roasted garlic on hand to use for other things as well. Place them into a foil bed and drizzle some oil on them. Crimp up the edges around them. It's okay not to cover them up completely, but if they start to dry out in the oven, then wrap them up. Place them into a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven for 40 minutes to an hour, or until the garlic is soft and spreadable. When they are ready, you should be able to pick up the bulb and gently squeeze the garlic out. It's best to do this while they are still hot, so be careful and use gloves to not burn yourself. Place the garlic in the fridge for 5 minutes to cool. 5 minutes is all it should take, and you do want them chilled because we will be adding this to a perishable sauce that starts with 1 raw egg, followed by fresh lemon juice. This was about 1/4 of a lemon here. Remember, you can always add more after tasting. Then we add a small bit of black truffle oil. This is very strong in flavor, so don't overdo it here. I added maybe a teaspoon at the most, which might be too strong for some people. You can skip the truffle oil if you want or can't find it at the store, but it does make for a unique flavor and works very nicely with potatoes and garlic. Next, you want a neutral flavored oil such as grapeseed, or in this case, avocado oil. Add about 3 times the volume of the egg, give or take. Here it was around 100 mils. A good pinch of salt and some fresh ground black pepper. Always fresh ground, please. And lastly, in goes the roasted garlic. I used about half of what I had, so about a full bulb. Now this is a pungent sauce, and it's supposed to be, so if you are sensitive to garlic or whatever, use half the amount of garlic and truffle oil that I did. Now all you have to do is blend it with a stick blender. Make sure the blender is flush against the bottom of the glass to start with. If you don't have an immersion blender like this, you can use a regular blender, but you will have to drizzle the oil in slowly instead of adding everything in at once like this. Be sure to taste it when you think it's ready. I added a touch more lemon juice and black pepper to mine. I also cut up some lovely green onions, but those will go in right before we use the sauce. Back to the potatoes, which are shredded up in a bowl and ready for seasoning. Feel free to season them however you want. I didn't want to go overboard with the spices in order to let the flavors of the sauce and duck fat shine through. A couple pinches of kosher salt, fresh ground black pepper, some granulated garlic, onion powder, and some smoked paprika. Mix that up well to incorporate, but be gentle about it. It's very sticky and will take a little time. Now I don't know about you, but I like my tots extra crispy, so I'll show you my trick to making extra crispy tots. Alright, at this point we've got our seasoning in. It's almost time to make them, but we do want to make these crispy, and I'm going to show you a trick. One of the things that you want to add to this at this point is flour or some type of starch. You can use all-purpose flour. They're going to be a little bit on the softer side if you do that, and that's fine, I've done it before. Cornstarch is usually the next go-to thing, but there's other types of starches than just cornstarch. One of the ways to get it the absolute crispiest is to use potato starch. There is something that is slightly more crispy than potato starch, but I'm saving that for another video. This will be fine for this. Besides, the other thing is very hard to find anyway at your local grocery store. So we're going to add some potato starch to this and then mix it up again. You don't need a lot, maybe just a few teaspoons or a tablespoon or two. If you know the starch that I'm talking about that is crispier than potato starch, let me know down in the comments below. I do plan on making a video with it very soon. So add in your starch and mix everything together once more very well. And we'll mix it in. This is really going to help give it some good texture. All right, so now we're going to shape these into tater tots. A little nonstick spray on the tray. And this is very sticky because of the starch, so if you put a little bit of oil in your hand, it'll prevent it from sticking. All right, so let's see how big we want to make these things. That's a little too big. Kind of want them to be the shape of tater tots, so you see what I'm doing. Kind of form it like that. You want it longer, you squeeze it more. A little bit big of a tater tot, but we'll get it right. Kind of want little cylinders. That should work. And it's pretty important that they're all close to the same size so that they cook at the same rate. They're not going to be perfect, but they're homemade. They're not machine made, so you don't have to be too perfect. You could just make them into a little ball if you want, but I'm kind of trying to go for the shape. All right, we'll get the rest of them made and fry them up. All right, so we've got our tater tots all rolled up. Some of them are bigger than others. These are bigger than these. Yeah, what are you going to do? So I'll cook the big ones together and the small ones separately. So next up, let's get our duck fat rolling, and we're going to fry these things. All right, so we're going to use a cast iron skillet for this. We've got our duck fat. If you get it like this, sometimes it will separate. That's fine. It's normal. Don't worry about it. Just shake it up, stir it up. What we're going to do is put the fat in here. We don't want to go too high. We don't want it to boil over. Going to bring it to about above 350, maybe 360, 365. Hold it there for a while, because when you add the tots, the temperature is going to drop in the oil. So let's get the fat rolling and we'll fry them up. Oh, bring the temperature up slowly on this too. Don't crank it up. I'm actually going to turn it down a little bit so that it heats up. It should take about maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on how much you have in there. It's a good thing I went with 3 of these because this is a wide pan. So I'm going to add the rest if I need to. It will expand as it heats up. So we'll check on it in a little while. So when the tots come out of the duck fat, obviously we're going to put it on a wire rack. We're not using regular salt though. This is one more thing to just kind of bring it up a level. We're going to use fleur de sel. It's a flaky salt. If you can't find this, which is very hard, there is a store around here that I know has it, and I ordered this offline. You can also get Malden salt. It's another flaky salt. But today we're going to go with the fleur de sel. All right, so the oil is at 363, so I think it's time to get frying here. We're not going to overcrowd the pan either. So right away, the oil has dropped down to 331, 330, 329, so that's why we go above. You overshoot a little bit, it's going to go back down. We'll compensate by turning the heat up slightly. Alright, it's looking like we need to give these a flip. You can see the color on the outsides of it. Yeah, perfect. Alright, these are looking pretty nice. When you see that nice golden color on all sides of them, that's when we pull them out. Those are looking great. That. Hit it with a little of the fleur de sel. Alright, I'm going to move this off the counter here. I'm going to let it cool down. Don't throw this away. What you do is just make sure to get all the little bits out of it. I'll do that in a few minutes over there. We're going to strain it. We're going to save this duck fat. We can use it again. Definitely don't throw this away. And we'll finish it off with some green onions. And of course, we have to have some ketchup as well. All right, so we have our elevated tater tots, fried in duck fat, crispy with potato starch, and with the fleur de sel. We've got our garlic truffle aioli with green onions, and a bit of regular ketchup. Why not? Let's try these out. Oh man. That's really good. I want to try one just by itself. Oh yeah. Man. That's on point. This one is on point. Definitely give this a try. You don't have to go to all the trouble to make the sauce. Definitely adds to it, but these by itself, just with some regular ketchup, it's really all you need. Yeah. All right, guys, so I guess that pretty much wraps it up. Definitely give this one a try. You know, if you don't want to go to the trouble of getting duck fat and, you know, the fleur de sel, just make regular tater tots, fry them in whatever oil you want. They're great however you make them. If you like this content, make sure you're subscribed. You can watch all my videos, obviously, on YouTube, Odyssey, and I'm now on Rumble. So go ahead and check those platforms out if you haven't yet. Make sure to give the video a like. It really helps the algorithm. And until next time, make sure to treat yourself right and cook yourself something good. Thanks so much, guys.